Hi, guys. Okay, we are on page 76 and we are talking about needs and wants. And I don't know if your life has changed dramatically just from having clarity. I have women and they tell me that, like, I just didn't realize there was a difference between needs and wants. So I'm just barking orders to my husband constantly. And since I made the differentiation between needs and wants, it's like I drop so many things. I drop them and I just stop asking him for stuff that is just a want. And I just focus on my needs. Leah, I'm more content than I've ever been. And I know this sounds like I'm making up a testimonial. I can't tell you, there's probably 100 emails I got that said this exact same thing. You got to try this. If you are one of those people who sits on the fence and, well, yeah, one day I'm listening now. I'm just getting some, I'm just getting some inspiration. No, be a lady of action. Start doing it, figuring out your wants, figuring out your needs. I'm telling you, bliss is waiting for you. Okay, let's get started. Okay, want madness. Here's the uncomfortable truth about wants. In the moment, they usually sound so reasonable and appropriate, but taken as a whole and in such quantity, they do come across as a little embarrassing. I'm the queen of self-justification, so I'm quite good at pulling the wool over my own eyes, especially when it comes to getting what I want. But even I have to admit that my demands are a bit over the top. Here is a typical list of wants that we may have. On any given day, a woman may ask her husband for several of the following: to change a light bulb, to carry his used dishes to the sink, to get home earlier, to stop spending time on the computer, to not put her down in front of guests, to be more patient with the children, to compliment her more, to learn more Torah, to stop taking his mother's opinion over hers, to remember to pay the bills on time, to bring her flowers, to be more ambitious at work, to spend more time with her, to help with the household chores, to buy her gifts more often, to be more attentive to her emotional needs. And of course, he should also speak gently to her at all times. Sound familiar? Okay. Each of these requests in and of itself is entirely reasonable. Taken as a whole, however, doesn't it strike you as a bit much? No person on the planet could possibly satisfy all of these high expectations. Didn't this list exhaust you just to even hear me read it? And yet, given our consumer mentality, this is what we often feel like we're entitled to. Entitled to, you hear that word? Entitled. We think we are entitled to all the things I just read. We have been trained well to demand more, but it's crushing the one person we want to crush the least: our husband. I didn't say that in the book. Does it say that somewhere? Okay, so far. And here's something else to mull over. Even if our husband completed every solitary item on the above wants list, would that really be the end of it? Wouldn't we complain about how he did each task, his lack of practice in doing the task, or his attitude while he did them? And would we even praise him or just complain about all the other things he didn't do? And if he finished the list, like he did all those things I just listed, wouldn't dozens of other wants just rush in to fill the gap? Aren't we creating a situation where our husband is doomed to failure and we are left in a perennial state of disappointment? Once I asked a group of women, I'm like, how many of your husbands would come up to the podium and say right now, hi, my wife is perfectly content with everything I do for her? Like nobody, right? Be like crickets, all the men would be staring at their feet. Okay, doesn't our lack of setting priorities about what is important to us demonstrate that we actually are treating our husband like a kind of the vending machine? Confusion about our wants versus our needs causes us to never be satisfied with our lot. Is it any wonder that our husbands throw up their hands in despair and give up even trying to please us? This is sad. So are we meant to simply stifle ourselves and be satisfied with nothing? Hardly. The big question then remains, how do we begin to get our needs met? For starters, we need to gain clarity on, we're just going to read about a couple of minutes, but it looks like it's taking forever. Oh no, we're almost done. Okay, a couple more paragraphs. Okay. The big question then remains, how do we begin to get our needs met? For starters, we need to gain clarity on which needs are most important to us and do our best to let the rest go. That's what we're going to be working on now. If I can find my place. Okay, here we go. In this chapter, we will learn exactly how to do this, but we have to understand one extremely powerful phenomenon. A woman can be extraordinarily happy having only of her 3 top needs met And if they aren't met, she will demand endless lists of things from her husband, trying to satisfy the emptiness she feels inside. By doing the work necessary to truly understand what your top true needs are, you actually have a chance of getting them met. And perhaps equally important, you can finally give your husband something he craves, possibly more than anything else in the whole world. And that's the satisfaction of making you happy. Letting your husband take care of meeting your needs fills him with deep satisfaction. Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler adds, how does his wife become one with him? When he gives to her and invests in her, they become one. Meaning if he's the giver and you're the receiver, and when he gives and you receives, that is how they become one. In Maseches Derech Eretz Zuta, it states, if you want to love another, do things for that person's benefit. So if you want your husband to love you more, let him do things for your benefit. Rev Eliyahu Dessler states, love is a result of giving more than giving is a result of love. By prioritizing our needs rather than giving our husband dozens of commands, I want this, I want that, okay? We explain one item that we need and let him give it to us. Then when he gives it, we are satisfied, he loves us more, and he feels like a king. Okay, questions, ladies.
Okay, so we have Hilla who asks, we as women are a very emotional being. Our needs are always changing. How can our husband keep up? LOL.
That's very true. We are changing people and, moving, but we are a moving target. I get it. But start with 3. Make your wants list, narrow it down to 3 priorities. Share those. Maybe one of them is going to change over the next 6 months or a year or 2 years. You'll swap it out for a new need. 2 of them will probably stay the same for several years. Maybe 1 or 2 of them will be a lifetime need that you have. I have a woman and she was very, very needy with her husband, and maybe her love language was physical touch, whatever, getting a lot of hugs. And so I taught her to just go stand in front of him with her arms by her side and smile. And he got pretty good at just stopping whatever he was doing, whenever he was doing it, and giving her a hug. And then she went on her merry way. That was such a deep need of hers that getting that meant now she was cooking new things for him, and she was doing whatever she possibly could to make him happy because he was getting her deep needs. So a lot of our needs are going to be the same for our lifetimes, some more than others, and there could be changes. What changes the fastest from moment to moment is our wants. That's why chasing after them is miserable for you, because even if you don't get them met, you're unhappy. If you get them met, you think of other ones and they don't really, even if you get them, they didn't do it right, or they didn't, get you the right color or whatever. They didn't say it right. Told them you needed more validation and they said, you're very smart. That's not what I needed. I needed something more specific. So if you have your wants that you're throwing out at them, it's not going to make you happy. Whereas if a few of your needs are met, this is deep satisfaction that you'll see. Try this at home. You're going to try this and you'll be like, Leah, I can't, there's no words. And this is our Masorah. This is not Leah Richeimer being so smart. This is from Har Sinai. Hashem taught us exactly how to be the happiest. And you just got to follow the directions, which is figuring out what your needs are and then expressing them to your husband so he can meet them. Okay, good. Next question. Great question.
Okay, so Khani says, I realized something I really need is for my husband to stop criticizing me. I've expressed this to him in so many ways, but it's a real challenge for him because he thinks as my partner, he's supposed to help me be my best self. Is it possible for me to tune out the criticism and meet this need myself?
It's very good. What's her name again? Hani?
Khani.
Okay. So Hani, I hear this is a deeper issue than him not meeting your needs. So usually, criticism, and he says he thinks it's his job to criticize you, to bring out the best in you or whatever. A little bit of education might help him to understand that the best way to get somebody to change and grow is not through criticism, but through compliments. So you might explain that a little to him, or have somebody else, go to a third party, a therapist or something like that, to help him understand that. Because his logic, and men are, often very, very, logic appeals to their sense of, if you explain something to them, they can often change just from understand the insight of the logic. So that might help them. But also, I find that, if you look at your childhood of, where, maybe you were criticized a lot. In other words, it could be he's just a critical person and you have nothing to do, you didn't instigate it, or you're not bringing out that part in him that criticizes you more. But there's also an equally and maybe more likely scenario that you are somehow soliciting the criticism from him. So you're doing things, maybe as a kid, you were all constantly criticized, and now you've created an environment where you feel that same sense of comfortability, even though it's horrible for you and it's dysfunctional and it does, it's not making you happy. But there could be things that you're doing. I once had a woman and she said, my husband, screams off his head. He's got a terrible tantrum. And, when I first heard her story, I'm like, oh, this guy sounds like a monster. This is terrible, whatever. And then I asked her to play out for me and to walk me through what he does. And she said, well, we're having an argument and a conflict, a regular conflict. You have them all, everybody has them all the time. I wanted this and he wanted that, and he did something the wrong way, or he hurt my feelings, whatever. We're having a conflict. And he'll say in the middle of the conflict, he'll say, I need time to think about this. This infuriates me. She told me, it infuriates me. Like, no, you're just escaping the problem. And I said, so then what happens? And I tell him, she said, I tell him he needs to stay here and finish this right now, here and now. And he says, I'm too mad, I'm too upset, or whatever. And then he starts screaming his head off. So at first it sounded like this was his problem. She's the victim to his being screaming off his head. Now, when you hear the full picture, both sides to the story, you see she is pushing him to his limits. And give the guy space. Some people need time to process. He's one of them. Give him space. Say, listen, I'm afraid you're escaping it. I'll tell you what, how about we talk about it in 1 hour? I'm setting a timer, I'm going to watch my clock and set a timer. So what I'm driving at is that if you understand what your role is in the thing, rather than being a victim, if you understand what you're doing to instigate the things, and how you're creating him to criticize you, maybe not. It could be you're just a victim. Okay, so I apologize. I'm not trying to blame the victim. I'm trying to empower you and give you power. Because the minute you say, oh, maybe there's something I'm doing, now you got power. That's like, oh, I realize that he is exhausted. He hasn't eaten. He hasn't whatever. And then I do one thing and he criticizes me. Maybe when he walks in the door, I'm going to hand him a granola bar so he eats well. I realize when his blood sugar is low, he's more critical. There's always something a wife can do. So that's what I would invite you to start looking at, and to start trying to figure out what role you might be playing in it. And then the other thing is that, to answer your question, is understanding your goal. Your goal is to be closer. And if you have a conversation with him about, you don't want to be distant from him and you want to feel closer, and then put the problem in his lap and say, what do you think we can do to be closer? The criticism is making me feel distant, and I don't want that. I love you. You're my hubby. Yeah, my husband. I want to take care of you. I want to be there for you. I want to be the best wife possible. But the criticism is really kind of tearing me down. What can we do? And put it in his lap. Excellent question. I wish you bracha and hatzlacha in reaching out and making this thing better, bringing your guys closer. Okay, next question. Sorry.
Okay, so Leah, that you spoke to before, the other Leah.
So she has
okay. Yeah, exactly. She has a follow-up question. She was the one who said her husband, if she wants to share her emotional needs with her husband, he's like a potato.
He's got the empathy. Potato. Yeah, okay, great. The potato.
Yes, exactly.
Hi, Leah. Thank you for being here.
Exactly. Okay. So she has a follow-up. Can't I just get my emotional needs met by my friends?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. Women have 9/10 of speech. If you use it all on your husband, you'll kill the poor guy. They have to, I get that. You can get some of them met. A husband's responsibility is to take care of his wife's emotional well-being. So it's really his accountability. And he can't do that if you've handicapped him. If you don't share your emotions, or you blast them out, or you scream them at him, and whatever, then he can't take care of you properly. So you have a responsibility to make him able to take care of you. Some of it might be if he comes home and you just natter, complain, and that's happened, and that's happened, and you just unload on him, you just kind of throw up on him, if that's how you're doing it every night. I don't blame the guy for being a potato, an empathy potato, and being distant from you. So you have a responsibility to not do that. And one of the ways might be to first talk to your sister, first talk to your best friend, as long as it's not lashon hara, gossip, talk to them, spill your guts, maybe journal, maybe meditate, something, get it off your system. So when he comes, you're like, here's what happened, A, B, C, instead of here's what happened, and talk for 2 hours. So, yeah. So to answer your question, yes, you can use your friends to make it better, so that when you get the emotional support from your husband, it's less of a burden for him. Okay, good question. Go next question.
Okay, so this one is from Devora. She
Okay.
says, my husband and I used to have great communication. It seems like our lives have changed over the years. Why does every discussion turn into an argument? Yeah, she basically wants you to go into her house and tell her what has changed from.
So Devora, would really help me if you could type in what an example, because I'm not even sure. I don't know where it went south or why it went south and what happened south
That, by the way, like that's what I was making the comment. I'm like, wow, like there's so much in between that. From when she had great communication to what it's going down south.
I mean, it could be that they have babies and she's not taking care of her husband properly because he's taking care of the babies. It could be that she's, that
okay, so Deborah, she answered. Deborah said, example.
Okay.
He'll ask me the weather and I'll tell him, and he'll argue with me why it's so hot.
What do you mean he asked the weather?
Meaning he'll ask her, I totally understand her. It's so funny.
Okay.
He'll ask her, what's the weather? And she'll tell him the weather.
Oh,
and
like
then
it's 82 degrees.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then he'll just start arguing with her about why it's so hot. And she's like, you asked me something, I gave you an answer. That's a communication. It wasn't an open, like, let's have a whole argument about it now. So I think they definitely had.
So you mean he's got a short fuse.
Yeah, he's definitely more short with her. But the only issue is she still hasn't told you how it went from amazing communication to suddenly short with her. Meaning there's got to be something in the middle there.
Right. Well, it's, I mean, unless you can send in, or if you can send in more information, but the issue is that it sounds like he's angry at her and taking stuff out on her and being, what's the word I'm looking at? Argumentative with her. And this could be from a million different causes. It could be he's, got depression. He's going through depression. It could be that his boss is kicking him all day long, and he comes home and then she's the first thing he can, kicking the dog, whatever, So it could be that. It could be that she's not giving him the respect he needs. It could be that she stopped cooking for him. She says, I need takeout, and every night it's takeout, although maybe he's the chef in the family. Everybody's got their, I don't want to pigeonhole what, how it should be, but it's just taking care of each other. She stopped doing his laundry, or she stopped answering, maybe she was doing his billing for his office and she just is lazy about it, or I don't know, whatever actions she might be doing for him. And it's either domestic things or business things, or maybe he needs her to tell him how great he is, and she stopped doing that. I don't know. Usually there's always something a wife can do, but if you start introspecting what she is doing differently, that might give her some clues. I don't know. Is she answering anything else? Is Deborah saying any other thing? Okay. So yeah, so I guess.
Yes, wait. She said that she stopped complimenting him.
Oh, so that could definitely well be it, that he's not feeling bolstered up, and he's not feeling not only that you're not complimenting, but when a person's complimented, they recognize that the person first had to have that emotion and feeling about them. Actually you don't have to. You can compliment somebody without feeling it. Like, I ain't feeling it. That's a lie, Leah. No. Our Torah teaches you do the action, maybe for the wrong reasons, to be closer to somebody. Maybe that's the wrong reason, rather than you giving them a compliment, whatever. But it's not sheker. It's not falsehood, because your actions, even actions done for the right reason, the The right action done for the wrong reason is completely mutter in Torah. It's encouraged, is to do the right, is just do the right actions, do the right actions. Don't wait till you're feeling it. Don't wait till you, have this overwhelming feeling of apology before you give an apology, or forgiveness, overwhelming feeling of forgiveness. No, forgive. The feelings can come after. You can compliment. The feelings can come after. Do the right thing is
Make it till you make it. She actually added that his work is also pulling him left and right, and he's obviously not satisfied in work either.
Yeah. So I would just, have a heart to heart with him. First of all, start complimenting him literally 10 times more than you ever have done, even from before when everything was good, if he's having trouble at work. So you're going to start with the compliments again, but then at some point when it's starting to turn a little, you see that you're feeling closer to each other. Then you could actually have a conversation with him and say, we used to, I feel a little bit like, you're harsh on me sometimes, and critical, or I say one thing and you go into this other place, and can we like have a secret word that I'll say, you're going to that place, like, when I see that it's like, say it's 82 degrees and you're like, what? Can I say artichoke? And then you'll realize, can I say, you're doing it again? Something like that. Can I give you a keyword so that you'll realize that you're pulling away from me? I don't want you to pull away from me. I want to be close to you. I want every day to us feel closer to each other. And I want to be the support person behind you to make that happen. And you put the problem in his lap, just tell me how to do that. And I'm willing, able, and available. You just have to teach me how. But I don't want these sessions where there's a lot of conflict for nothing, for really silly things. And it just makes us feel distant. And I don't want that. Tell me what to do. And he'll feel like, hopefully, God willing, he'll get it, or he'll be annoyed, but at least you're making the efforts, and hopefully plant
He,
seed.
by the way, said you're awesome, Leah. Thank you.
Who said that?
Devora.
Oh, from the other. Yeah. Okay. Mwah. So here's the take home message for today. The take home message is, one time when you're not sure just take the action anyway. Whatever the action is, that's the good action to bring you closer, take that action. So whether it's apologizing when you don't feel like it, or complimenting when you definitely don't feel like it. Like, I like your outfit. Not really. Whatever it is, try and compliment something that you actually want to compliment. But whatever that action is, take an action without having to feel it or to be ready or whatever. Just take the action. That's your homework. Take the action to be closer to your husband. Good luck with it. I wish you a lot of success in it. We'll see you next time.